I'm of the opinion that hardware is beautiful and it should be shown, not painted. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to remove paint from your hardware. I'm going to go ahead and place this doorstop underneath this door in order to hold it up while I take the hinges off. Using a hammer and an awl, I'll go ahead and remove the hinge pins. Now I can take the door and go place it somewhere safe. A screwdriver is useful in removing all these screws. You don't need a power drill. And if any of these screws are a little stubborn or filled with paint, go ahead and just tap your screwdriver with a hammer, and that'll set it in. Because the hinge was painted in place, it may be connected via paint to your door frame. In order to get it out without chipping the paint around the frame, you're going to go ahead and give it some taps with the screwdriver head as you pull it out. The vibrations will break the paint around the edge without taking some from the frame, in theory. I put the door on the bed so that way the handle has a place to recess in. It holds it horizontally, so I have no fear of it falling over onto a child. Now time to remove the hardware from the door as well. I briefly lost audio, but what I have here is a pot of boiling water, and I'm about to add baking soda to it, although it doesn't go according to plan. Whoops. But luckily, it's just water and baking soda. In a minute, I'll start that back up, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and take this strainer I have here. I'm going to put my small parts into it. These are my hinge pins and my screws. Next, I'm going to do the hinges themselves. Now you can just put these on the bottom of the pot, but I think it might be a little bit better to keep them from that direct heat of the flame that comes through the bottom of the pot. You'll want them completely submerged, so I'm going to have to add a little bit of water to this since I splashed a bunch of it out. Now as you'll notice, I'm wearing rubber gloves. These help keep me from being splashed by the hot water. Now once the water is to a boil, you want the parts in to be from about 15 to 30 minutes. It just takes a little while for that metal to heat up to be able to peel back the paint. You can see it is already starting to come off. For the removal of the paint, I'm simply going to peel it off. And if you do want to use a brush, use a nylon. Don't use a steel brush or a metal brush because you're going to scratch your hinge. And then it's going to require some more polishing and extra work. Now if you're like me, these hinges are actually not worth very much. They're just plated brass, so it's steel on the inside. But I like doing this, and it's a little bit of fun to see them brought back to their former glory. A couple times I may need to re-dip this and boil it again to get some of these small pieces off that are stuck in the middle. There's a little less paint sometimes on the hinge pins because you drive them with a hammer, and that chips the paint off over time. While I work on these screws, I'm just going to go ahead and put these hinges back in for a little bit longer. Screws can be simply peeled off sometimes just like that. Now my hardware kind of looks like crap. I'm going to use a little bit of polish. This is removing some of the grime from the water. So this is just a way to clean it up and make it shine again. Now it's possible that some of these hinges were actually painted because perhaps they didn't even look that good. So like this one has a little bit of wear where it shows some darkened spots, but this polish is able to remove that. It ends up taking a little bit of the brass finish away because these are just plated. If they were solid brass, then it would really shine it out. For the screw heads, you can do them individually like this, just a little bit. Now, if you use a rotary tool, you may actually just buff away the brass layer and you'll just have a steel hinge left. It may be better if you have brass plated hinges just to replace them. Although if you're like me and you want to just reuse what you got, cleaning them up can be a fun project. It's a good idea to lubricate the hinge pins during reinstallation. 3-in-1 oil or sewing machine oil are good lubricants for this application. Even though the hinges don't look perfect, I'm happy with the results of this restoration project. Please consider subscribing to my channel.